These mistakes are significant. You must remember that you are a foreigner in a foreign land. You absolutely must not do this. No. This way is far too risky. Here we are, welcome to this new video which a subscriber requested. So if you want to move to Italy and live here, follow his example and write what you don't know or aren't sure about in the comments. Over the years I've met hundreds of foreigners who started considering buying a house in Italy, and some of them moved forward with their goal of living in the Bel Paese. It's very important, actually it's essential to know what you're doing, and if you don't, to gather a lot of information. What I always emphasize is to keep in mind that if you are American, English, Australian or from anywhere else in the world, you are in Italy, which means you are a foreigner in a foreign land. You must do everything possible to avoid mistakes, especially because mistakes often lead to financial losses and other times to wasted time, and we all know how important time is nowadays. I want to make a small disclaimer. Italy has a terrible bureaucracy. State laws, regional regulation, and provincial and municipal rules are often crazy, and in some cases they slow down the process even more. At the same time, Italy is also a country where laws are open to interpretation. What I mean is that, for example, there's a law and anyone applies it as they want, and until something serious happens, no one does anything about it. Now let's start with the first of the mistakes I've seen happen: not knowing your own lifestyle and the lifestyle you are looking for. You know, many people buy a house in Italy simply by browsing real estate listings without even knowing which area they are looking in. Northern Italy, southern Italy, seaside, mountains, hills, cities, villages, it doesn't matter. And as long as it's a house in Italy, Italy is very different in terms of climate, cost of living and services. So if you come from a big city like London or Denver, you're used to having all the services you need right at your doorstep or even delivered to your home. In your city you have Uber, an efficient public transportation network, and whenever you have a problem you just make a call and you've got a line of professionals ready to help you. Well, in Italy, in most cases, you won't find this. At this point, many of you might say, but Matteo, that's exactly what I'm looking for. I want to disconnect from all this hustle and bustle of modern life. And here, honestly, I will say nothing, because that's precisely what you are looking for. But believe me, in most cases, no. And I'm speaking from my experience. It will be difficult to call a plumber, impossible to arrive on time to an appointment using public transportation, and even harder to find someone who sticks to deadlines, such as in the case of renovating a house. On top of all this, be prepared to have a lot of patience whenever you deal with the state authorities, whether you need permits or simply have a fine to pay. If you choose a large city, you will have more options to help you achieve your goal, whereas if you choose villages or smaller towns, the problems will multiply. There is also a big difference in prices between northern and southern Italy. On average, everything costs more in the north, so prices have generally gone up everywhere. But you know what? Public transportation is a nightmare. If you want to travel by train, prepare for a long and justified delays. Buses and taxis? Better don't say anything. So, if you want to move to Italy, you need to know the area where you plan to live, what services are available there, and whether this particular lifestyle can match your own. Otherwise, it will be a nightmare. The second mistake I often see is wanting to spend too little. On this channel, we've often discussed the topic of cheap houses. If you are interested, I will leave the link above. If you want to buy a cheap house, you need to know what you're doing. Many times I've seen foreigners rely on the word of the house owner they want to buy from, or the the real estate agent regarding the cost of renovations. Sure, they will say, with 10,000, 15,000 you can renovate it. I have a cousin, Mario Luigi, who owns a construction company, he can help you. And then those 10,000, 15,000 turn into 50,000, 60,000. Cool, magic. So if you are planning to buy a house that costs under 30,000 euro, always account for at least another 30,000 for rewiring and fixing the roof. There are very few cases where the house is in a good condition, but they do exist. Beyond the financial factor, you must consider the time factor. If you buy a house for 15,000, 20,000 euro and need to redo the bathroom, the roof, the utilities, how much time do you think it will take? Today, the renovation sector in Italy is overwhelmed. There's high demand and a little supply. I've seen houses that were renovated 5 years after purchase, simply because there were no reliable companies available in the area. You know, in my personal opinion, in some cases, if you don't have the right experience, you should consider increasing your budget to access a category of homes in a better condition. The third mistake is not negotiating the price. You need to negotiate the price. Guys, you need to do this. Everyone says it, but few actually do it. If the house seems cheap, negotiate the price. If the seller is an elderly gentleman you like, negotiate the price. If the real estate agency tells you the price is not negotiable, negotiate the price. When you wake up in the morning, guess what? Negotiate the price. 1 out of 3 foreigners doesn't negotiate the price. Think about that. Don't be impressed, don't believe the stories, don't fall for fake friendships or invitation to lunch and dinner. Negotiate that price. One thing I recommend is also comparing market prices. If the house you are interested in is listed at 60,000 euro and there are other properties with the same features and in the same area selling for 20,000 less, then perhaps just maybe the price you were quoted is inflated. So always negotiate. Money is money. Let's move now on the fourth mistake, the classification of the house. I've talked about this in past videos, but I want to emphasize this mistake since it happens often and then people end up with fines. In Italy, if you buy a house, you will need to choose between two types of classification. Prima casa, first home, and seconda casa, second home. Prima casa, first home, doesn't mean it's the first house you are buying in Italy, and seconda casa, second home, doesn't mean it's the second house you own apart from the one you live abroad. This classification determines the amount of taxes you will pay based on your residency and how you will use the house. If you plan to move to Italy and establish residency here, it might be advantageous to buy the house under the Prima Casa classification. But if you want to buy a house in Italy to use it just for vacation or to rent it out on Airbnb without moving your residency here, the Seconda Casa classification is more suitable for you. The difference between the two is that with Prima Casa you get a tax discount at the time of purchase and don't pay annual property tax. On the other hand, with Seconda Casa classification, you will pay the full amount of taxes and the annual property tax called IMU, Imposta Municipale Unica. But you need to keep in mind that if you buy a house under the Prima Casa classification, you have a maximum of 18 months from the notarial deed to transfer your residency to Italy. If you don't, you will receive a fine requiring you to pay the difference in taxes you saved during the purchase plus a penalty fee. The fifth mistake is not specifying in the purchase agreement what will be left behind by the previous owner and what will be taken away. When you buy a house, and this isn't just in Italy, it's important to determine whether you want to furnish the house yourself or take advantage of the furniture already in the house. For a foreigner buying a house in Italy 9 90% of cases it's very convenient to find furniture already in the house. After all, I don't think you want to buy furniture in England or in Australia and then ship it to Italy. Typically, those buying a house here are also looking for a certain style of furniture, something authentically Italian or locally inspired. In older homes, you can often find beautiful iron beds, finely crafted handmade wardrobes, and various details that are hard to find in a shop. If you are interested in the furniture or specific items, make sure to specify it in the writing, not just verbally. That way you will have a document that serves as a proof of your request. Similarly, if you don't want a particular kitchen because it's too modern and doesn't match your taste, you can indicate that the owner must remove it. Remember that the furniture can also be used as a negotiating tools during the sale, so be cautious. Today we've talked about these 5 mistakes, but if you want to be fully prepared to avoid errors and learn from the mistakes of others who have already made them, you absolutely need to buy this book, which lists 99 mistakes to avoid. This book was written with the help of other foreigners like you who have already booked or sold their homes here. They have made plenty of mistakes and wanted to share them with you. Remember, a simple book like this can save you both time and money. So let me know what you think about these mistakes and whether the solution I've provided are helpful. If you have also booked a house in Italy, share your experience in the comments, tell us about your journey and whether you've made any mistakes along the way. See you soon!